This is the AI Brief, brought to you by the YPO Technology Network, and I'm Stephen Forte, the $630 billion governance gap. By the end of this episode, you'll know the 3 things to put in place before your company's AI deployments become a tort lawyer's next discovery request. Today, a story in 3 acts. California just fired a shot across the bow of every company building or buying AI. The hyperscalers are pouring $630 billion into infrastructure this year, but the governance layer is nowhere close to keeping pace. And one major enterprise vendor just shipped what might be the first real security architecture for the agentic era. 3 stories, 1 uncomfortable thread. Let's start with California, and I want to be clear about what this is and what it is not. This is not a policy brief. This is a liability story. On Sunday, March 30th, Governor Newsom signed a first-of-its-kind executive order requiring any AI company contracting with the state of California to meet rigorous privacy, security, and responsible use standards. Companies must now attest and explain their safeguards against bias, illegal content, and civil rights violations. The order also directs the California Department of Technology to create watermarking requirements for AI-generated images and manipulated video, the first mandate of its kind in the country. Now, here's the fence. This is not just about government procurement. If you're thinking, well, we don't sell to the state of California, so this doesn't affect me, well, you're missing the pattern. The real enforcement mechanism here is not the executive order itself, it's what comes after. And to understand that, you need to look at what happened with Ada website accessibility. I've been sitting with this parallel for a while, and here's where I land. In 2024, over 4,000 Ada website accessibility lawsuits were filed in federal and state courts, not by the government, by private plaintiffs, many of them serial litigants. Some individual plaintiffs have appeared in over 1,000 cases. The playbook is formulaic. Use automated scanning tools to identify violations, file a complaint, settle for $3,000 to $25,000. Rinse, repeat. The law firms operate on contingency. The plaintiff pays nothing up front. And California is the epicenter because the Unruh Civil Rights Act allows $4,000 in statutory damages per visit. That's why California sees the highest volume of serial filings in the country. Now map that onto AI. California already has over 20 new AI laws that took effect January 1st, 2026. Several create exactly the conditions that fuel this kind of enforcement by litigation. AB 316 says you cannot claim an AI system acted autonomously. Developers and deployers cannot avoid liability by saying the AI did it on its own. SB 683 creates a private right of action for unauthorized AI-generated likenesses. $750 to $50,000 per violation, attorney's fees recoverable. The question your general counsel should be asking is not whether you comply with this executive order. It's whether your AI systems, the ones you're deploying internally, the ones your vendors are selling you, create exposure under the 20-plus laws already on the books. The tort lawyers are not waiting for federal guidance. They're reading the same statutes you should be reading. Here's what that looks like in practice. Take a $2 billion consumer brand with e-commerce operations in California. Your VP of marketing just deployed an AI agent that generates product images and customer-facing copy. If that agent produces content using someone's likeness without consent, even inadvertently, SB 683 gives that person a private right of action. $750 to $50,000 per violation, attorney's fees, and your legal team can't argue the AI acted independently because AB 316 closed that door. So what do? 3 things, and when I'd have these in motion before your next board meeting. 1, audit every customer-facing AI system for California-specific exposure. 2, establish an AI governance attestation process because Newsom's order is signaling what every state procurement office will eventually require. 3, get your outside counsel up to speed on AB 316 and SB 683 specifically. If they haven't read those statutes, you need new outside counsel. Now, here's the transition that matters. California is creating legal exposure, but the reason this exposure exists is because companies are deploying AI at a velocity that makes governance structurally impossible to maintain. And that brings us to the $630 billion problem. Morgan Stanley estimates the 4 hyperscalers, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft, will spend roughly $630 billion on data centers and AI chips in 2026, 4 times NASA's annual budget. On top of 600 existing facilities, another 544 data centers are in planning or under construction. But here's the fence again. This is not a demand story. The spend is real. The demand is real. The problem is physics. Nearly 60% of data center projects were delayed more than 3 months last year. Transformers are back-ordered 100 weeks in Europe. Gas turbines sold out until 2029. A 100-megawatt AI data center cost over $4 billion, and a $1 billion initial estimate routinely swells to $1.3 billion or more. The question your CFO is going to ask is, what happens when the spend accelerates, but the governance doesn't? Because right now, companies are deploying AI agents into production environments while the legal frameworks are still being written and the security architectures are still being designed. That's the real governance gap. It's not that the money is being wasted. It's that the money is buying velocity without guardrails. And the ROI math is already shifting. Alphabet's return on invested capital is projected to decline from roughly 51% to significantly lower by 2030. Microsoft's ROIC faces a similar compression. Reuters put it bluntly, lavish expenditures may fall short if financial resources cannot override physics. So think about a $5 billion private equity-backed technology portfolio. Your CTO is pushing to deploy AI agents across the portfolio companies, customer service, procurement, code generation. The infrastructure spend is happening, but if even one of those agents goes rogue, and we covered Meta's Sev1 incident last week, where an AI agent acted without authorization and exposed sensitive data for 2 hours, the liability exposure isn't theoretical anymore. It's California AB 316 exposure. It's reputational risk. It's LP risk, which brings us to the third act, and frankly, the most actionable one. Someone is finally building the security layer that this moment requires. At RSA Conference last week, Cisco unveiled what I'd call the first real enterprise security architecture for AI agents. And the fence here is important, and this is not security theater. This is not another vendor slapping AI on existing products. Cisco built 3 things that matter. The question your CIO should be asking is, who's authorizing what my AI agents are doing right now? Because most companies don't have an answer. Cisco built 3 components that start to close that gap. First, the MCP gateway. MCP, the Model Context Protocol, has become the de facto standard for how AI agents connect to enterprise tools. 97 million monthly SDK downloads. Every major provider supports it. But until now, there's been no control plane. Cisco's MCP gateway sits between your agents and every tool they access. Every request gets intercepted, evaluated against an authorization engine, and permitted or blocked before it reaches the target system. A firewall for agent behavior. Second, agent identity. Cisco's Duo Agentic Identity registers AI agents as first-class identity objects, not service accounts, not proxies of their human operators. Each agent gets mapped to a human owner, assigned to groups for policy enforcement, authenticated at every access point, and fully logged. Every action is traceable to a sponsor. And when the agent's work is done, lifecycle visibility confirms access has been removed. Third, DefenseClaw, an open source framework that scans every skill, every MCP server, every piece of generated code before it's allowed into your agent environment. And here's the detail that should get your attention. As Cisco's DJ Sampath put it, a skill that was clean on Tuesday can start exfiltrating data on Thursday. DefenseClaw doesn't assume what past admission stays safe. It inspects every message flowing in and out of the agent at runtime. If it detects a threat, it revokes sandbox permissions and quarantines files in under 2 seconds. No restart required. Now, what does this look like in practice? Picture a 300-person financial services firm. Your CIO just deployed AI agents to handle client onboarding, pulling data from CRM, running compliance checks, generating documents. Without something like Cisco's Stack, each of those agents has broad access to sensitive client data with no per-action authorization. One compromised MCP server or one agent that starts behaving unexpectedly, and you have a breach. With the MCP gateway and agent identity layer, every tool call is scoped, logged, and revocable. Your compliance officer can tell a regulator exactly which agent accessed which data, when, and who authorized it. I've been thinking about how these 3 stories connect. And here's the thread. We are in a moment where the velocity of AI deployment, $630 billion worth of it, has outrun the velocity of governance. California is building the legal framework. Cisco is building the technical framework. But most companies are still operating in the gap between those two. And the gap, that's where the risk lives. So today, California's executive order and the tort lawyer playbook that's about to follow, the $630 billion infrastructure sprint that's outpacing every governance structure we have, and the first enterprise security stack designed for the agentic era. And the thread through all of it is this. The companies that survive this transition are building governance infrastructure alongside AI infrastructure, not after the first lawsuit, not after the first breach. Now, governance is not a cost center. It's the only thing standing between your AI strategy and your next deposition. That is the YPO Tech Network AI Brief for Wednesday, April 1st. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back Thursday with more. Until then, stay sharp.